Hello guys, welcome to another video. In this video, we would be seeing on what is Jinja and how we can use Jinja in Airflow. As we already know, like Jinja is like a templating engine for Python, which commonly used in Airflow. And what I have seen in the real time is like we use Jinja highly to dynamically get the dates or the date times or for some macro purpose, applying some kind of if else condition. These are the major things which we have used in my project, in my experience in Airflow. And like one basic example which I would like to say you is like in the ETL world, we will be getting the files in S3 or so Azure storage or somewhere, right? So the files which we get anywhere will have kind of mostly the date pattern. So we'll be getting files every day. So instead of using some kind of date time module or something and creating the date, we can use Jinja. Okay, so this DS, if you see here, it will print the date. This previous DS will use the previous date. This will give the timestamp. These all are the Jinja stuff only. Whatever you write inside the brackets is the Jinja stuff. So I have some examples which I would like to show you on how we can use Jinja, so that you will get some picture on how to use Jinja in the real world. Okay, you will get an idea on how to use Jinja with the Airflow. So I have a basic DAG here. I named it as Jinja 1. Okay, and I have multiple bash operators. If you see echo execution date, to get the current date, I can just use bracket DS. It will get the current date. To get the yesterday's date, I can use previous DS, and which I already showed you in the previous video also. To get the date without any hyphen, you can use ds no dash. To get the timestamp, we can use macros.datetime.now. To get the next execution date, we'll get the. Now you can ask me what is the difference between the execution date and the DS. DS will give the current dates, the time whenever the DAG is running. For suppose when you are doing the backdated runs also, DS will give the current dates run. But the execution date or the next execution date will give that specific dates run. For suppose you are running, today is the 2nd February, you are running for 12th of December last year 2024. This is 2025. So in that point in time, as you are running for 12th of December 2024, you will get 12 December 2024 here. But DS will give, as you are running it 2nd February, it will give 2nd February 2025. So that's the major difference between the execution date and the DS. So you can get the UTC now as well. And using in Jinja, if you want to add some dates or subtract some dates to the current date, you can get this. You can do like this. If you see, I'm not doing anything. I'm just echoing and printing the basic stuff here. This is how we get the date, previous date, date time, and this is how we add the date using the shell. Using Python, I've showed you using the quarks in the previous video. If you see the quarks of execution date, quarks of DS, previous DS, and we can even add, right, quarks of macros.ds format, you can add. This is using the Python, and what I've showed you is using the shell commands. So using Jinja, we can even create the if else condition. If you see, I am getting the current date, and if it is the first day of the month, then it is saying it's the first day of the month. Else it's not the first day of the month, so it will print today is 2nd, right? So it should go to the else block. So this kind of dynamic coding can be done using Jinja. It's like, as I said, it's a templating language for Python. So we have some operators here. So we have very basic stuff which we are doing here in this first Jinja. So now let's go and run this. If I go to Jinja 1 and if I execute it, all these tasks gets executed, and if we see the logs, we'll get a better idea. So to see the logs, we know we have to click on this and we have to go to logs. If you see, the first log is execution date. See, echo execution date DS. What is the today's date? 002. Okay. And the second is the execution date and the previous execution date. That's what we got here. And the third one is like a date time and the next execution date. If you see the 03, this one, and all these detail. So this is how we get all this information. This is just a basic stuff. So let's just check the conditional check, the last log. So if you see, it's not the first day because today is the 2nd, like that. So now if you go to the Jinja 2, here this is how we use Jinjas in the real time. Okay, let me show you. We have a DAG and we have a task. It calls the process DAG. Okay, here this is the process DAG. Okay, now this execution date is dynamically generated. Okay, quarks of ds, which we have seen the purpose of quarks in the previous example. Okay, so this will give the date. So when I print the path, see, if you see, I'm just printing the data from this path, right? So we'll get the path with the date dynamically generated here. Okay, so now before that, I just wanted to show you one thing. Here I have a class and the constructor takes one argument, my path. Okay, this is the basic Python class. So we are using this inside the task. Okay, if you see here, we are calling this particular class with this path. How are we generating? The bucket name and the folder name is hard coded, but the date is dynamically generated using the quarks. Okay, now this particular path is passed. So in this task or in this task or wherever we want, we can just directly create an instance to this particular class, and then so wherever you want, we can use just reader dot this particular path. That's it. That is how we are reading here. And if you see, I'm just printing the using Python, how we can print the quarks ds, quarks previous ds, quarks next ds, how to get the year, month, date and all. So that's the basic stuff on how we can do using quarks, which we have already seen in the previous video. So let me just go and trigger this Jinja 2 once. And when I trigger this gets executed. These two tasks we have, and those two tasks will have the logs. So let me click on this and let me go to logs. If you see, this is the path. So this particular the date is dynamically generated. This is what for these kind of scenarios only we have used the Jinja templates in my previous video. And one is for the path and another is for the auditing purpose also. Like while we need to update some tables, we have to get the timestamp when that while inserting, right, when this particular record has been inserted or when this file has been processed. So wherever we want some date stuff, we got using the Jinja templates only. That's one of the scenario which we have used. So now the next is Jinja 3. Okay, here if you see, in the previous video we have seen how to pass the arguments from the DAG level. If you want to pass some particular arguments to this particular method being called inside this Python operator, then we can do like this. If you see, op quarks and the argument key name is my params, and these are the values. The value here is another dictionary. So these values will be passed to this particular method. So if you see, this particular method takes my params, which is nothing but this one. Okay, and the quarks, which we know right now we are not using quarks here in this. So if you see, my params dot reason, if you ask, we get the USA. My params dot category, we get electronics. My params dot discount, we'll get the 10. If we don't pass this, then we'll get the default value. That's the purpose of the get method while reading a dictionary, right? This is the default value, and in case if it has some value, that value comes, or else this value gets replaced. So I'm just rereading the parameters. So this is how we read the parameters inside a method being called inside the task. So this is one way to read the parameters inside the method within the task. Okay, that's it. We aren't doing much stuff here, just some small ETL stuff, and we are just printing it. That's it. We don't need to see this, nothing else here. And the next is the Jinja 4. So we, in the previous example, we have seen, right, in the first one, how to do the DS, how to get the date time and all using shell or a bash commands. And in the Jinja 2, we have seen how to get all those using the quarks. So the same thing is being done here in the Jinja 4. If you see, one is a Python operator, one is a bash operator. All the dates and all I am getting using the Jinja templates only. Wherever you have brackets, that means we are using Jinja. So simple as that. So what is the logical date, what is the run ID, DAG ID, everything, all metadata information we can get using the Jinja. And here if you see, I am using the quarks. Instead of quarks, I have just renamed it as a context. The quarks and the context both are the same here. Whatever you pass, we have to read with that only. That's it. Ideally, we pass the quarks here. That's it. So all this DS and all is read from the quarks are the context. That's it. So let me go and run this Jinja 4, so we'll get an idea clearly. So I've triggered this. So now the first task has been executed, and if I go to the logs, if you see, all this is a Python task. So everything got printed using the quarks. And the next task, the same logs has been printed using the shell commands. That's it. Here we have used Jinja. For Python, we go with quarks. When we want to use shell, then we go with the Jinja, like bracket ds, bracket ds node as, bracket ds next ds, all this, bracket run id, all this. And similarly we can use some loops and we can create some methods also using Jinja. If you see here, I have one bash operator, one task. Here I have just a small logic here. If you see, I have a list with then variable name list, variable name is fruits and all these, and then I'm iterating through the list and then I'm printing it. That's it. So this is how we can leverage the Jinja also. Here I'm using the bash commands here. So let me go and print this Jinja. Let me go and execute this Jinja loop. We'll get an idea on how we can use list in the Jinja and Airflow. So I've executed this. So now if we come here and if we go to logs, if you see, I like apple, I like banana, I like cherry. That's what we are printing, iterating. So we are iterating the list. So this is how we first we have to set the list. To set the list, we have to use set and the list name and iterate it. That's it. So next we'll see how we can create macros. Macros are nothing but methods only, like how we have methods in Python. Similarly, using Jinja, we can create a method to avoid the repeated code. The major purpose of method is to avoid the repeated code. Keep all the common code in a method and just leverage that method whenever we want, right? The same stuff here. So if we have weekend message method, this is the method name and this is how we end the macro using Jinja. And inside which again I am setting a variable. To set a variable or a list, we have to use the keyword set and the variable name equal to either list, the list like how we have seen before. Here I am just getting the date. Okay, day name I am getting here. This is how we get the day name. And then I'm just checking if the day name is Saturday or Sunday, then echo this, print this, else print this. So that just a simple method. And I'm just calling that particular method. This is how we call the method. And this particular method takes one argument. See, what is this argument? Execution date. We know, right? Whenever you pass something in bracket, this execution date means when it has been executed. That particular date will go here. So now if I come and execute this Jinja macro DAG, if you see here, it has executed. Now if I go and see the logs, it's a weekend. Enjoy your day off because today is a weekend. Today is Sunday, right? So that's what we got here. So this is how we can use Jinjas in Python. But I just showed you the concepts of Jinjas here because we do use Jinjas mostly to avoid the repeated code and very majorly, if you ask me, in the ETL world to get the file paths and all only majorly, or to updates the audit tables or something, to get to update or to insert some records in the audit table or something, we need to get the dates and all, right? So those dates are fetched using Jinja only. Like we know, bracket ds will get the current dates, bracket execution date will get the specific execution date. So this is how we leverage Jinja in Airflow. This is how we use Jinja in Airflow. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.